back to Cheche. Kenya's democracy is facing unprecedented challenges, both from the governing party and the opposition coalition, the politicians. So what can Kenyans do? Well, today's guests are political scientist Dr. Wanjiru Rutenberg, communication lecturer Dr. Nancy Booker, and lawyer turned politician, although he's still a lawyer, Charles Cheche. And before the break, we were talking about, professionalism, the role of professionals in Kenya's democracy. And Mutegi, you mentioned the Law Society of Kenya, you mentioned ICPAC. I suppose the question, and I think Wanjiru, you had made the point, between the media are at fault because we don't give room to these voices. And Dr. Booker, you're about to respond to that.
Yes, I was just about to respond before the break. I think the question about who do we invite to media to be able to shape that public discourse is an important matter that's being raised. And there are various reasons to that. That, up until last evening, and just using yesterday as a case in point, I think media did not know what was going to happen. And so you quickly try and get whoever is available. And you can be sure that, those that can shout the loudest would be
the loudmouth,
would be readily available to come on set, which is fine. But then, how do we extend that conversation beyond that? And I think now there's a lot of time we've slept over this. There's a lot of time to look for sources, look for opinion shapers, from different sectors or different institutions. And every time, and I guess this is part of there's need for a shift in terms of even the journalistic thinking. That when we think about balance, if you have Jubilee and then you have NASA on the panel, then you have balanced the panel, And now it's even being taken further. If you have Jubilee and NASA, then there's a lady, then you've balanced the panel, to a large extent. That's not balance. The balance goes beyond just who's there, but also what positions are they championing, and is everybody feeling part of that discussion? And the truth is that the professionals have actually been left out of that discussion. Part of it could be.
Please disagree after Mr. Cheche has spoken, because he wanted to intervene as well.
And there are reasons to that. That one, a number of them might not be available on short notice to just be able to come on set, because they are also coming in to propagate a professional position. So they would need to rally themselves around what they're going to say. So it's okay to have the pundits, but you also want to be able to balance that discussion so that beyond yesterday, we want to see a lot more institutions, a lot more people coming in to be able to ask, what does this mean, and form part of that.
I think we need to understand the background and to be honest with ourselves so that we address the issue. Talking about media, we are a fairly heavily polarized country, and that is even in our approach to the media. I know personally people who will never watch Citizen. I know people who will never watch KBC for their perceived
biases or
whatever those people think. But I'm just giving that as an example to show you that the problem is a deep problem. And I think, further to what Dr. Booker is saying, I think inadvertently over a period of time, media has been intimidated by the political class, so that anytime you have a panel, you feel that if we don't include somebody from this side and this side, these people will feel that we are not being fair. And of course, who loses out? Those who would actually give maybe a more objective.
So what you're describing, the polarization, is reflected here. So, Uduak, please bring objective panelists, not Jubilee allied ones. Bottom line is that we're in a political crisis. That is a fact. The Constitution does not help, and we should not compare Kenya with other African countries that we know their history. So you can just see people are taking exception to you. And then the truth is the media has failed us big time, buttressing your point, because instead of giving us the substance of crisis and position the country is in, they keep following what the next politicians will say as hot headlines. It's our collective responsibility to shape our country's destiny.
Odwak, if you take the percentages, I think somebody, I don't know whether it was Dr. Who referred to, the truth is, if we are an honest nation, you will hardly get Kenyan today who to a greater or lesser extent is not either allied to one side of the political divide or the other. We cannot run away from that. But what, like your viewer, should be challenging me on is not the fact that I'm a member of Jubilee. They should be challenging me on something that I have said that is objectionable, or that is not correct, or that is,
and somebody buttresses that point. The problem in Kenya is that no one seems to care about honesty anymore.
But I was going to make a suggestion anyway about the media, and I was going to say, I'm sure there are many ways that the media can try and deal with it. One way the media could try, in my view, is to be proactive. Because if you look at where we are at today in political terms, probably to a certain extent, maybe not 100% accuracy, we could probably have predicted this as one of the scenarios. Now,
if we've done a scenario building exercise,
if we were then discussing it at the time when we haven't arrived there, people will be less emotive. The discussion will be less emotive. I'm just suggesting that maybe that's one of the areas the media may want to look at. Try and be proactive, build these scenarios. Let's discuss these scenarios long before. Because you see, like your viewer there, who is objecting me to, he's objecting to me because I'm Jubilee. Can they put their hand on their heart and would they object if you had brought them my senior James Orengo here? Would he have objected that guy has political bias?
Or would he have asked that why didn't you bring a Jubilee person?
Yes, would he have said why didn't you bring a Jubilee person?
Mutegi, you've been wanting to say something.
I wanted to talk about professional and why they are not here, only round mouths. I've been a producer of this program and many others, and I know, for instance, how difficult it is. I'm not trying to justify incompetence, but when it comes to getting professionals come to interviews, or even women, it is very, very difficult. They think they are too busy. And
well, not necessarily think. Sometimes they are too busy.
Anyway. They don't think they'll contribute anything. If you look for professional chairman of various professional groups, hey, they will not come here. Particularly, even the retired type. If you look, for instance, for retired police commissioner or retired whoever, the way Americans do it. If, like, they used to use cases all the time. If your Secretary of State is there, when you are kissed there, what would you have done? They don't want to come here. They don't think that what. Because probably they think they'll be termed as loudmouths. So it's difficult.
But part of that debate then should also be extended to the media houses themselves, because where have we placed, for example, our veteran journalists in the newsroom? And the kind of situation that we are in right now would warrant that we have, some of these reporters who've been there, who've seen it, who've covered, these processes over and over, so that scenario mapping is done. The challenge is that we have not created the space and actually valued the contribution of veterans or senior citizens who have an agenda and can actually be able to influence that discourse.
Dr. Buka, would this challenge come back to you?
Bottom line thing, throughout the media industry in this country, they have learned a lot of retrenchment. The people you see there now these days, they are young people. I'm not talking about myself.
With no institutional memory.
No institutional memory. And because they're cheap.
Yeah.
You hire, if you retain me, I'll be getting a salary of 3 reporters. So go home.
Yeah, but I mean, when we think about the cost of this process,
democratization.
Yes, it goes beyond just thinking about the financial implications of it. And I think we need to be able to get all of us as Kenyans who are passionate about this country to be able to think beyond the cost. I am sure that there are many of those people who would be willing to dedicate their time, at no cost, at negotiated cost, to be able to contribute to that. So, yes, sorry, you had a question.
Thank you for ushering us into, our time is running out, and you've ushered us into solutions, because the question I asked is, what can Kenyans do if the political class has held us to ransom in the way that they have? And Wanjiru, you talked about neighboring countries, most of which have experienced civil war, which are coming out of civil war. We have hosted refugees in this country, and yet we act as if we are blind and we take our country, and for those of us who've traveled, it's a beautiful country, we take it for granted, and we keep flirting and pushing ourselves closer and closer to the brink. So what do we do now as we wind up?
A couple of things. One, let's remember this is a long journey. This is a 60-year journey. And once you have that sense of perspective,
I'm told that I have 7 minutes.
Once you have that perspective, then things stop looking like crisis and they start looking like opportunities to make decisions, so you don't have to come back and make the right decision again. But we'll keep having to come back until we get it right. We'll keep retaking the test until we get it right. And the test is, can we build institutions that will outlive us?
Posterity. What about the suggestion from the clergy that, expand the cabinet? Or the other suggestion about rotational presidency, ensuring that there's a slot for, whoever comes number 2 and their running mate.
We should have put that in the Constitution if we want, but now that we actually passed, overwhelmingly, this Constitution, Kenya as a country has a collective, for the first time in a long time, collective agreement on who we want to be and the boat we want to be in. That's the Constitution. The task now is to actually implement that Constitution, is to execute on the agreements we made with each other.
Did you fail us? You were in charge of the Implementation Commission. Did you fail us?
No, I didn't, and we didn't fail. I think we did very well as a country, not just the Commission, in terms of implementing or seeing the implementation of the Constitution. But I think the point here, two points I want to make. One, really, is just to repeat what Dr. Wanjiru said, that let's understand that this is a process. It takes time. And there's so many examples. Did you see the reaction of some of the African presidents when the Supreme Court made its ruling? They said, how do you allow that to happen? You see, because they are where we have been before, and that's why I even as we try to correct things which need to be corrected, I don't want us to build a picture of gloom. I think our institutions under the 2010 Constitution are working. They may not be working as perfectly or as quickly as would be an ideal situation, but I think they are working, and I think what it behoves us now, all of us, is to give them the opportunity to work. If there is a need to correct them at any point, we do that collectively in the same way that we brought the Constitution into being in the first place. But the Constitution as is today, and by the way, one of your viewers made some comment about the Constitution, is it for lawyers and so on. Absolutely not. I don't think he's read the Constitution. This Constitution is one of the constitutions that actually has the clearest, most basic English language. Yeah, you just need to open it as long as you understand the English language.
Okay, so Dr. Booker, your final thoughts.
I think one is that media also needs to look at it as itself as an institution in this process. In as much as we are looking at other institutions, the media as an institution is also a very integral part of this process. And we need to look at ourselves and also ask, where have we failed? What is it that we are not doing right? And do we want to be part of that history by how we cover various issues, who we provide that space to, and the kind of discourse that's out there. But we also have to bear in mind that even with that kind of environment, there are certain constraints that the media is going to face. Issues about threats to journalists, that is not going to go away in a maturing democracy. The financial challenges, the harassment, the dictates on what kind of content you should have. All those things are going to be at play. The most most important thing is being aware of them and starting from a position of, if you're aware that something is not working right, then you're intentional about seeking solutions to it, and not just assume that we are doing a good job by the kind of coverage.
So look, we're out of time. Panelists, very quickly,
now,
before they start harassing me.
We have been here over 50 years as a country.
54.
Dr. Wanjiru says this process is a journey of about 60 years. Can you imagine that population of the country that has felt downtrodden over the last 50 years? It's very simple. Dr. said in her statistics that 45% of countries that have been on this democratization journey have backtracked at this stage where we are, transition, where she says institutions play a very key role. I will agree with Dr. Buka that one, the media has to consider itself as an institution and earn back the trust of the public, despite the challenges, the monetary, the influence, the ownership. And of course, most important for me, in the situation we are in, the presidency as an institution has to earn the trust of the 49 to 51% of Kenyans who will not agree with the ruling of the Supreme Court if the Supreme Court says he is declared the president.
Okay. Mutegi, very quickly.
I think there is one word we have not mentioned since we came here, and the word is corruption. And I think one of the
and we can't introduce it now.
No, I am saying that is one cancer that we need to deal with in the institutions, whether in courts, in the media, all over the place. That one we must care of.
So look, we're out of time, panelists, guests, Dr. Wanjiru Kamal Rutenberg, Dr. Nancy Booker, Charles Nechaya, thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching and engaging with us here on Cheche. My name is Udwa Kamimo.